Well, as you may or may not have heard already, last night in a crucial special election, both Donald Trump and especially Elon Musk were dealt a brutal, humiliating, high profile victory with national implications, and we have to talk about it. But before we do, if you end up liking this video and you want to support the channel, please be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and alert bells before you go. All right, friends, this is a major piece of substantive good news for liberals, progressives, Democrats, for people who love democracy and loathe Donald Trump and Elon Musk, because, again, this was a brutal defeat. We're going to play this clip from last night of CNN projecting the winner, and we'll unpack it together.
Indeed, John, because we now have a major projection to make. CNN projects that the liberal judge from Dane County, Judge Susan Crawford, will win the Wisconsin Supreme Court race, keeping control of the court in the hands of liberal judges and defeating conservative Judge Brad Schimmel, who had the backing of President Trump, Elon Musk, and Republicans. Crawford's win gives her supporters in the Democratic Party a significant victory after they worked to turn this contest into a referendum on both President Trump and Elon Musk, who had deep involvement in this race. Democrats obviously trying to harness voter anger about Musk's role in slashing the federal government and about the Trump administration.
Yes, and it was successful. It was successful despite a serious potential for defeat. There's no doubt about it. Now, again, as we consider the implications and the consequences of this victory, I want to remind you of how important this election was to Elon Musk, using Elon Musk's own words, because I have no doubt that he'll either try to deflect or downplay his defeat last night or try to ignore it outright. But I want to remind you, using two recent clips of Musk, of how he described yesterday's elections.
It's just how important it is. They think it's just, some kind of judicial thing that's not that important. But it actually, what they're doing, what's happening on Tuesday is a vote for which party controls the U.S. House of Representatives. That is why it is so significant. And whichever party controls the House, it to a significant degree controls the country, which then steers the course of Western civilization. So it's like, I feel like this is one of those things that may not seem that it's going to affect the entire destiny of humanity, but I think it will.
So think about that. In that first clip, at a speech he gave in Wisconsin shortly before the election, Musk was saying that not only will this, potentially reshape federal control, which is true because Wisconsin is a purple state, it's a swing state, and there's the very real possibility that the current Republican gerrymandered congressional maps, which favor a 6-2 split between Republicans and Democrats, could be reversed, which could affect the outcome of Republican control over the federal government. That is true. But Musk goes beyond that and says, actually, I think that this could reshape the trajectory of the human race and Western civilization. That's pretty existential. And then he effectively restated the same thing yesterday in an interview with Fox News on Election Day, but before the polls closed.
Well, the reason tonight's elections are so important is that the judge race will decide whether the Wisconsin districts get redrawn. They're going to try to gerrymander Wisconsin to remove 2 Republican seats. And as you know, the House is currently Republican by a razor-thin margin, which means that losing this judge race has a good chance of causing Republicans to lose control of the House. If you lose control of the House, there will be nonstop impeachment hearings. There will be nonstop hearings and subpoenas, and they're going to do everything possible to stop the agenda that the American people voted for when they voted for President Trump with the party.
So here's what's funny. Okay, again, some of that is true in the sense that, again, this could have national implications. That's why it was so important. Of course, he says that Democrats will gerrymander the congressional maps in Wisconsin. There's no evidence of that, number one. Number two, the only party that has gerrymandered the congressional maps in Wisconsin has been the Republican Party. Musk doesn't give a shit about that. So that's just pure cope and pure hypocrisy on his part. But yes, it is true that this could have a downstream effect, which could reshape at least control of Congress. Now, all that other stuff, like, oh my God, it could flip Congress into the hands of Democrats, and therefore there would be impeachment hearings and some sort of legislative attack on Donald Trump. I mean, don't threaten me with a good time. I would love that. There's no guarantee that that will happen, but it's certainly more likely as a consequence of last night's election. Now, let's consider Elon Musk's personal involvement in this. Again, he wasn't just giving speeches, he wasn't just giving interviews on Fox News. He contributed a lot of money, a staggering sum of money, about 19 million between through his PACs, like his various political action committees. And then when you combine that with his personal donations, despite Elon Musk's $25 million investment in the race, according to the Economic Times. So in aggregate, in total, between his PACs and between his personal donations, Elon Musk contributed $25 million to this particular statewide race. Despite Elon Musk's $25 million investment in the race, the Economic Times reports, Crawford's victory secures a 4-3 liberal majority on the court, which will hear cases on abortion rights, redistricting, and unions. Again, not good news for Elon Musk. Democratic House leader Hakeem Jeffries also weighed in on this, and kind of rubbed salt in the wound on an MSNBC interview.
And rejecting the extremism, the outrageous behavior of this administration and their effort to harm everyday Americans.
As you look at the Wisconsin result, this was something I did not expect to be discussing with you during this hour tonight. We expected this to be a closer race. We expected the call to come much later in the evening. We saw Elon Musk personally go out there. We saw him hand $1 million checks to voters, trying to literally buy the election right there in Wisconsin. What does it tell Republican members of the House of Representatives who are counting on Elon Musk to get them reelected?
It's time for them to walk away from this unelected, unpopular, unhinged, and un-American billionaire puppet master. Elon Musk was just rejected decisively by the voters of Wisconsin. He tried to spend his unlimited resources to buy a state Supreme Court seat in Wisconsin, and it failed spectacularly.
Love it. Love it. Yes. And again, if you actually look on social media, we might even do a video about it. It's great. It's fun because Musk is being viciously publicly mocked for his failure, and he should be. He deserves it because if the shoe were on the other foot, that's precisely what they would do. Now, speaking of Judge Crawford, the victorious liberal justice in this election, I want to play a few clips of her because she had a hell of a victory speech.
Someone who watches out for people. But I've got to tell you, as a little girl growing up in Chippewa Falls, I never could have imagined that I'd be taking on the richest man in the world.
And I think behind her, if I'm not mistaken, I think that's Supreme Court Justice Janet Protasevich, who was elected and flipped the court the first time for the liberals back in 2023. I actually went out and canvassed for her in Wisconsin in 2023. I am almost certain that that is her. Anyway, sorry.
For justice in Wisconsin. And we won.
Love it. One more clip from the newly victorious, the Justice-elect, Susan Crawford.
So today, Wisconsinites fended off an unprecedented attack on our democracy. That's right. Our fair elections and our Supreme Court. And Wisconsins stood up and said loudly that justice does not have a price. Our courts are not for sale.
Love it. Love it. I'm trying to think here. There are a couple of other. I mean, again, just to point out. I mean, there was as according to Ben Wickler, the chairman of the Wisconsin Democratic Party, there was a colossal shift all across Wisconsin towards Democrats, to the left, which is really encouraging. And yes, this is really good news. Okay, I do want to just point out a couple of things. Again, Wisconsin is a 50-50 purple state. Okay, it is perhaps the most purple state in the country, arguably. It went for President Obama in 2012. It went for Donald Trump in 2016. It went for President Biden in 2020. And it went back for Donald Trump in 2024. So it's gone back and forth, back and forth. There are 2 senators in Wisconsin, obviously, into the United States Senate, and one is a Republican and one is a Democrat, right? The very few states actually have split senators, okay? And yet, because of Republican gerrymandering going all the way back to 2011 under Republican Governor Scott Walker, Republicans have had a comically disproportionate advantage, both internally and in terms of the congressional districting, so the delegates that they send to the federal House of Representatives. There are 8 congressional districts in Wisconsin. And even though it's a 50-50 state, so you would expect 4-4, maybe, 5-3, you expect, it's actually 6-2. It's 6-2. They have a supermajority of the congressional delegates, even though it's a 50-50 state in so many ways. And that's a consequence of Republicans ruthlessly gerrymandering the hell out of both the internal maps in Wisconsin, so how the Wisconsin legislature is assigned, for example, again, gerrymandered to hell and back, and the congressional districts, which reflect a national implication. So 2 sets of maps, the legislative maps, which deal with Wisconsin internally, the congressional maps, which deal with the federal election, or the federal legislature in the House of Representatives. After Justice Protasiewicz won in 2023 and flipped the court to a liberal majority, in 2024, the maps for the legislative districts were redrawn to be more competitive. There was still a slight Republican advantage in those maps, but under those maps, it is very possible for Democrats to win and flip control of the state legislature. It's no longer guaranteed that Republicans will remain in power inside Wisconsin. That's good. It means that both parties are competitive. Republicans don't want that because they don't want to fight Democrats on even terrain. And Democrats, all they want is to fight on even terrain. It's not like the Democratic governor and the liberal Supreme Court reverse gerrymandered the legislative maps for the Democrats. That's not what they did. They just said, we are ungerrymandering it. We are making them competitive. The congressional maps might also be challenged under this new liberal court, and they should be struck down. And if that happens, then new maps could be drawn, which make it potentially a 4-4 congressional district split. That is something that should be celebrated. That is now possible because had Brad Schimmel won, there's no way in hell he would have ever permitted such a thing. Because again, right-wingers, MAGA Republicans, and the Republican Party writ large do not want to play the game of politics on even terrain with Democrats. And now, as a consequence of this, in Wisconsin, that's much more likely that they'll have to do so. And that could shape the federal control of government, at least with the Supreme Court. So this is really, really good news. Donald Trump and especially Elon Musk were humiliated last night, and we should celebrate and mock them publicly. In the meantime, let me know what you think in the comments.